No, he was down to do a show sheet for us, but then Bob said that he wanted to talk about his draft today. So I was like,
I've
yeah,
never used a show sheet in my life. When did that happen? How does that happen?
Shane doesn't even know what a show sheet is. Like, we had to introduce him to a show sheet.
Bob has been on shows with me before, and he knows that's wrong because I've sent him show sheets, but he just doesn't open them.
So I don't open them. Why would I? I'm Bob Harris.
Yeah, I did. Bob Harris. I've done one show sheet before we had Bob on, right? Did one show sheet the first time we had Bob on, and then the next 7 times we had Bob on, I was like, there's no need for a show sheet. Just let Bob go. Just wind him up and.
Well, Bob's been doing this for like a minute, man. He's one of the best of the best. He's an OG.
I've been doing it for a minute. I don't know if that makes me the best. It just makes me old.
No,
that too. Dude. No, but there's a lot of old guys in this game that are really awful. And I'd have no problem saying
name them.
Their grandfather.
Give me the list.
Well, there's not you. You've earned.
Don't sell me short. I'm plenty horrible.
You've earned your stripes. One of my favorite thing about the Fantasy Football Expo, right, is that every time someone would see someone, and if they just saw Bob Harris, they'd go, like, it doesn't matter. I'd be like, oh, I just saw Bob. And they'd be like, oh, I love that guy. He is awesome. Like, that was literally every time like Bob's name came up at any point. Like, the police were looking for him. They're like, Bob Harris.
They were.
Like, oh, we love that guy. And they're like, us too, but we really need to talk to him.
It's true.
Yeah.
It was about the milk carton thing in the arms. It's nothing.
I forgot to add an @ symbol before my name, so that's good. That's really good.
Sorry, you know who you are, don't you?
First time?
Yeah, it's my first time actually creating a show on StreamYard. So I was a little bit confused on how to do this, but
it's difficult.
All right, you guys ready to kick the show off? Ready to go?
Do it.
Let's go.
All right, hold on. I
gotta do the song.
Song. I gotta get to the do song thing. Ready?
Are you gonna smoke cigarettes while we do this?
This is Fantasy Intervention. Intervene with your fantasy life, Shane Manila, Jacob Sanderson, and Chase Vernon.
No, sorry.
Hold on. Welcome on. Yes, another episode of Fantasy Intervention coming at you. And of course, we have one of my favorite people in the business outside of Shane. Of course, we got Bob Harris joining Shane and I. What's going on, Bob? How you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing oh man, I was doing great until someone took Gerald Everett in the show. I'm doing great. Love the theme song, man. You guys are doing big things here, man. I can't believe you don't have me on more often.
Dude, I think we need to. I think this needs to be a thing. Obviously, the Facebook user would love to see this. Facebook user, you got to get approved, man, so we can see who's actually talking to us. But yeah, we wait, is this you, Bob? Are you actually commenting?
No, it's not me.
Okay. Cool.
That's usually where I comment on you, but
no, I love that. And it's good to have you in. We got a big draft planned ahead, but before we get to that, we have some news we got to cover. Before we get to that, I got to introduce my co-host. Shane is the worst. Shane Manila, what's going on, Shane? How you doing?
Hey, what's going on? Hey, Facebook user, check out Dynasty Trades HQ sometime. We have Bob on all the time. It's like old hat. I mean, but yeah, this is the first time we've gotten Bob on the show here. I'm excited because this show's like, 2 years old now? What's this, our
I've been on before. Episode? You just weren't here. They didn't invite you.
This was the Dynasty intervention, Bob. You were on the regular one. You were on the Big Fish one. But we're actually transitioning this show over to our Big Fish show starting next week. So you're pretty much on that show. You've pretty much been on this to that point. But
I wasn't invited the last time you were on. Chase didn't want to podcast with me. But after that, I guess you might have put in a good word. And he's decided I could podcast with him.
Shane, I think it was actually during that time that you were trying to get out your stuff for the draft guide at the time. And I actually asked you to come on, and you weren't able to make it.
This is true. All right, fine. If you want to use facts and whatnot. All right, I'm excited. We got Bob on. Let's not small talk about small talk.
But that's what we do best.
Oh.
Anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. We have obviously some breaking news that came out today. We got some big things going on. Cam Newton, if you haven't heard about it, if you live under a rock, Cam Newton got cut. Mac Jones is taking over. It's somewhat big news, but I think it's bigger news, for the players surrounding the skill position players for the Patriots versus just Mac Jones, right? Because if you're in single quarterback leagues, Mac Jones isn't that big of a deal. If you're in 2 quarterback leagues, most likely Mac Jones is getting taken late. However, we have some big implications moving forward with Damian Harris, right? With James White, with Jacoby Myers. I mean, which player are you guys the most excited about moving forward now that Mac Jones is the quarterback for the New England Patriots? Bob, we'll start out with you.
I mean, I think it's still probably Damian Harris was the player who's been growing on me the most. Just all of a sudden we see, every now and again in New England, a running back gets that clear path to workload. Normally it's the Gordian knot of running backs. You never know what's going to happen, but they'll come across a player every now and again that they feel that they seem to trust. And it looks like Damian Harris. Like, I'm drafting all the Harrises this year. Every damn Harris, Najee, Damian, Jacob. I'll take them all. But I do like him. And I thought, so one of the reasons I thought Cam Newton was going to stick around and be the starter was basically that, he was good for the rushing attack. Also, he's not as good for the rushing attack because he's a big part of it, especially at the goal line. So this is probably better news for Damian Harris than I could have hoped for. So Deontay, hell yeah, give me some. But as soon as he gets back. But yeah, so I like that. But I think also the tight ends, maybe benefit from this a little bit. I don't think anyone's hurt. The way that Mac Jones has looked has been pretty impressive. I don't know that, I'm gonna expect him to drop off considerably once it gets preseason, regular season. I know that people will be game planning and there'll be tape and all those things. But man, you listen to Tom Curran from NBC Sports. I mean, he laid this out a couple of days ago. Just the case is done. It's over. That Mac Jones had already earned the spot, and you can hear it what the teammates were saying. So they seem to have a lot of faith in him. And I'm okay with that. I'm a little more interested in the tight ends now than I was, and that's in part because of him, and just in part because I realized, wow, they're really nicely priced.
No, they absolutely are, and I'm actually excited for the tight ends as well. And I think this attack, could be launched similar to 2011, where we saw the 2 tight ends just, completely smash faces. But when the Patriots, when everybody's doing one thing, the Patriots go the opposite. So I can see that coming. Now, Shane, who do you like the most now from New England Patriots? Who are you investing in with Mac Jones taking over at quarterback?
So can I say Mac Jones, or is that cheating?
Yes.
I was really high on Mac Jones. I like Damian Harris, but Bob already stole him. So I don't know. Jacoby Myers, James White. James White has a life again. James White can be an asset in a PPR league, which is awesome because life's just better when James White is scoring points because it's awesome putting a guy out there that shouldn't score 15 points a week, and he does. So that's awesome. Jacoby Myers, because he has a quarterback that can throw. So that's going to be fun. The tight ends, yeah. I mean, the tight ends, I'm still more concerned the fact that they're going to cannibalize each other and get injured, because that's kind of what they do, is get injured. And they're going to cannibalize each other because neither is that much better than the other one. And it's not going to be like 2011. This isn't the Killer Hernandez and Gronk out there. This is a very different kind of animals.
I like that. Now, there was something on the opposite end of the spectrum that might left a few people a little bit disappointed, right? Which was the Chicago Bears and their cuts. It was kind of insane. Like, they cut some of their wide receivers, and they were left with almost nobody at the wide receiver position. I was kind of shocked when I was sitting there looking at their depth chart. Behind Darnell Mooney, behind Allen Robinson, there's really nobody. And I'm not saying that Daz Newsome being a 6th-round pick was anything, great, but now you're moving over to a guy that hasn't played in a year, in Marquis Goodwin, that is now, I guess, the 3rd stringer, if that. With the Bears, are you guys, obviously concerned for Justin Fields? I mean, obviously we're concerned for Andy Dalton, of course, but are we concerned for Justin Fields moving forward that he doesn't have enough help on this offense to actually get to his potential ceiling?
it's the offensive line that it concerns me. They don't have any offensive tackles. That would be a greater concern to me. I mean, I think between Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney, you could gin something up, right? You can get the ball down the field. They both play into what Justin Fields can do. Also, Justin Fields' running ability will come in very handy when nobody's blocking for him. We already seen signs of it, right? We saw the helmet to the head hit he took. I mean, this is all very worrisome. This is why he will not start week 1. Seems pretty safe to say against the Rams, and I think I endorse this. I know Bears fans, sorry, I don't see any reason to hold him out for a very long time, but I don't know that I want to throw him into the Wolves right away without an offensive line. Beyond that, the wide receivers, I mean, you've heard really good things about Marquis Goodwin from the people watching camps. I don't know, he's very fast, so gives him another speed element. And again, everything that stretches it feels good. We'll see what the tight ends can do. I mean, I don't think I'm not keen on Cole Kmet, but I know some people are, and Jimmy Graham is always a viable red zone weapon. So, I mean, I think there's enough there for him, and in at least in the receiving core. I just don't know about the offensive line core.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been a major concern, especially with the release of Charles Leno at left tackle, and now you're having a rookie come in who's having back issues. I mean, it's just not a good situation over there, which is a big reason why I actually faded, Justin Fields for a big part. I love Justin Fields coming out of college, but I can't get on that train. Shane, how you feeling about Justin Fields and the rest of this offense?
I mean, what's changed? They cut some 6th-round wide receiver that we didn't think was going to do anything anyway. I mean, honestly,
Anthony Miller too. They traded him to the
Anthony
Texans.
Miller was a trash can. He just wasn't good at football as much as we all loved him. And he's not very good at keeping his shoulder in its socket either. That thing keeps falling out, which makes it hard to catch. We knew their offensive weaponry, if that's a word, it's not deep, right? If anything happens to Robinson, Mooney, or Kmet, it's not going to be a good feeling. But we knew that before they cut their 6th-round wide receivers. So not too concerned about that. Maybe they should have gotten more help, but they can also look at I mean, I don't know where they are in the waiver wire. There's quite a few other wide receivers cut. So just because the roster is what it is today doesn't mean that's what it's going to be tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's a big thing too. I mean, the Bears kept 7 inside linebackers or something like that. So that was obviously something that jumped off the page. They're not going to keep 7 inside linebackers to start out the year. At least, I mean, I don't know. The Bears are the Bears, but I don't see that happening. They could end up, moving on from a guy or possibly trading for a wide receiver, maybe N'Keal Harry. Now, there was one other player that kind of jumped off that I was a little bit shocked that got cut. I don't know if you guys want to spend any time on this, but Jacob Hollister over there for the Bills. The Bills, needed a tight end over there. Like, I just don't see Dawson Knox being that go-to guy throughout the whole entire season. I feel like they needed another guy that could possibly be that red zone threat. Meanwhile, they cut Isaiah Hodgins as well. So for the Bills, I mean, is this actually news, or is this just something that I'm just disappointed about because I like Jacob Hollister landing there?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of unknown tight ends. I mean, I have the most Dan Arnold shares of anyone you know. So, also I had some Jacob Hollister, Tyler Kroft, all those guys. Yes. Give me some of that, So, look, you could see that there's maybe so a little connection. He's got some experience. I don't know. I'm not big on Dawson Knox. Wasn't big on him. I mean, I know that some teams thought very highly of him, but there just was not any production in college, right? Nothing to hang your hat on. He had like a minor, a blurb at the scouting combine, and everyone got really excited.
Yeah, I mean, Shane, is this news? I know that you hate my late round people, but
no. And I mean, are we going to get into the fact that Colin Johnson was cut?
Oh God,
yes.
We have to mention that. No, I don't want
to.
I just Joe Reed, but I expected Joe Reed to get cut. I didn't expect him to make the roster. Colin Johnson, I was kind of shocked. He played with the ones throughout the entire preseason, right? He was playing with the ones, but he also had less than a 10% target share. So that was really concerning for me, especially in the final game. I mean, I wanted Colin Johnson to be a thing, but if you don't see the targets, if you don't earn those targets, I think it's a major issue. And it's something that's where it could be the play calling. It could be the system that Urban Meyer wants to run that didn't suit his skill set, but he wasn't even getting looks. So, I mean, Bob, you spoke up with Colin Johnson. Are you a fan of Colin Johnson? Are you disappointed that he got cut? Are you like, oh, he should have gotten cut?
No, I kind of liked what he brought to the offense a little bit. We saw some flashes last year. I mean, I like Marvin Jones of that receiving core right now because I like the cheap commodity. If I like those, Colin Johnson was even cheaper, right? So, if you're looking to invest really late and, best ball flyers, etc. Look, I didn't expect a major role barring an injury to someone else, but it seemed like the previous staff liked him a lot. And apparently this one does not.
This staff likes speed, man. And they've already came out and said that.
But they waived him, right? So maybe they're hoping they can sneak him back onto the practice squad. We'll see.
Yeah,
they didn't just cut him out, right? They cut the rest of those guys.
Oh man, yeah. Here we are, Facebook user. Talk about Colin Johnson, elephant in the room, and it's so bad, dude. Like that's my dude. That's somebody that I was very high on. So I'm hoping he actually does not land on their practice squad. That's something that would be even more disappointing to me. But
look, today was just a reminder, as we get every year, don't get attached to late round anythings.
Right, really. Anything.
After the third round, if look, don't invest in them. If you can flip one of those players, do it, because they're probably gonna not turn out to be much of anything. Jared Dokes, I was a big Jared Dokes fan. Wondering how that's working out for me now. So XFL, right? Woohoo!
All right, so we have a draft to dive into, right? Because Bob has this insane draft going on where he's starting 13 players out of 18 that are rostered, 6 wide receivers. It's insane. Before we dive into that, is there any more, cut day people that you want to bring up? Anybody else that kind of shocked you?
I wasn't shocked by anybody. I mean, nothing too surprising. The Traequon going on, pup list isn't surprising. I mean, nothing really shocked me. It was Cam that kind of caught everybody off guard. And once we got past that, anything else was going to have a hard time getting over this surprise bar, right? It was just not going to happen.
And they did that early, which is kind of like anticlimactic. They're like, boom. And then you just every day, after that, every time I got a message, it's like, just, oh, really? Whatever.
It just destroyed our whole entire,
Yeah, like I needed something bigger. Like, oh my God, Kirk Cousins got cut? That's insane. But that never happened. Nothing
ever happened. So let's go ahead and let's dive into this draft. You got a bunch of big time names in here, Bob. You got a bunch of cool with the community, of course. So go ahead.
Yeah, it's a fun draft. Been doing it for a few years. Mike Clay puts it together, and the unique thing about it, it's a 18-man roster, no defenses, no kickers, and you start 13, 2 quarterback or super flex. You start 2 tight ends, can start 3, 6 to 7 wide receivers, 1 to 3 running backs. So you don't have like a lot of bench space. So I mean, and it's a rough room, right? I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's a rough room.
Dude, I thought that I had a lot of leagues, but I feel like Matthew Berry's in almost every single league that I pull up. Like, he has to have people running that for him, right?
No, this is him. This is him. I can tell by the snotty comments in the chat.
Oh, that's awesome. He's like, he does his draft and he just passes it off to somebody on one of his assistants. He's like, handle my light work.
He's in here. There's this has to drive JJ Zach Reason crazy because everyone's pushing the quarterback thing here. Seems like for me, the late round quarterback thing kind of evaporated fairly recently. And that I just feel like you're, with some of the players that we're seeing, you feel liberated to maybe draft players like quarterbacks. Like when I hit a spot in a draft where I don't like anybody, I'll just go reap the value of quarterback. There's a quarterback everywhere for me, right? Wherever I am at a draft, I say, I could probably live with a quarterback when I don't want to pay. And so I'm like incredibly cheap. And I don't like to pay for anything in fantasy football. Like when we go out and everything, I'm fine. I'll buy. But in drafts, I don't want to pay for anything. And so I'll sit and get into the point in a draft, and it just really irritates me. I can't pay that much for that player. I'll go quarterback at those points. And in this draft, obviously, everyone's going quarterback fairly early. Started in the first round, and no surprise there. And the tight end is premium, by the way. So you can start you start 2 tight ends at least. Can start 3, and is premium.
How premium is it?
It's 1.5 points PPR. So instead of 1, go to the grid. You can kind of see what everyone's doing. If you scroll up to the top.
Let me see. Where's that grid?
Oh, next to display list.
Yep.
There you go.
Oh, cool. That works. All right. So obviously we see quite a few tight ends actually going earlier than most cases, with it being tight end premium. I'm a little bit shocked to see
One and a half. Yeah, just my 2 cents. And I like trashing industry people. But no, 1.5. See, I think more of the fact that it's you must start 2 tight ends is probably what's driving the early tight ends more than the 1.5. Because at 1.5, that's barely a premium for most tight ends. I love Darren Waller there, though, I must say.
Yeah, I had some kind of bizarre pipe dream that Darren Waller would make it to me at 9. And didn't. And then I convinced myself I would not take George Kittle and I'd wait and get Mark Andrews, who is my favorite, a little later. And then I got there. I went, nah, I'm getting Kittle. Hell with it.
You need to get you need to get your guy.
I'm not a big Kittle guy, honestly. In this league, I'll live with it. This is one of the few shares. I'm a huge Andrews guy. I know all this talk, all the receivers they brought in, and once again in Baltimore, when all is said and done, Mark Andrews is going to be the leading receiver on that team, going to lead the team in touchdowns. I mean, it's just, at least in the passing touchdowns. So, I'll be okay here. And I need like a Dan Arnold to pull me out of this little tailspin that I'm in this overall draft.
So
maybe Jacob Hollister. Oh wait, he got cut.
Hey, have you thought about Chris Herndon? Chris Herndon.
The trade today. That was a little surprising because Chris Herndon kind of sucks.
Tyler Croft.
Tyler Croft is the guy. He's the guy.
Tyler Croft is my guy. That's somebody that I absolutely love moving forward. Wait, but what did they get for Chris Herndon? Did that ever come out?
Sandwich.
Yeah, it did. It wasn't much.
Okay, so looking at your draft, there's something that surprised me a little bit was you waiting on wide receiver, having have to be taking 6 wide receivers, right? So with Juju Smith-Schuster, Kenny Galladay, Antonio Brown, I mean, those are 3 good wide receivers. But after that, Russell Gage, I mean, what else is left out there? And what could you be looking to do in the wide receiver
Damn little
as you move forward?
Damn little is left. I'm looking to get better tight ends is what I'm doing with my wide receivers. And some decent receiving, backs. I like Nyheim Hines at this point. I mean, the values are driven down, obviously, but, over the first 3 seasons, his catch totals are phenomenal. And I think that's going to continue, even with Jonathan Taylor coming on. So I'll be looking for another one of those at some point, maybe. And I don't know, but probably later. But I do need some wide receiver help. And I'm just looking for guys with high catch totals at this point, guys with roles, and hoping some of them explode.
That's a big reason, obviously, why you went with Russell Gage right there, is because he should be a volume target a volume magnet this upcoming year. Shane, is there anything that stands out to you on Bob's behalf or Bob's team-wise?
Oh, I was looking at the other people's teams. I'm just looking at the wide receivers because there's so many that have to go off the board. But fine, if you're going to make me look at just Bob's team.
You can comment on anybody's team you want, Shane. I'm here for you. I support your comments and your decisions and everything that you say on this show.
So I should look at this. How many running backs can you start? Derrick Henry, Nick
You can
Chubb,
start
Darrell
1 to 3. You can start 3 up to 3.
Yeah, see, I like your running back room a lot. I mean, it's hard to be upset with Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, and Darrell Henderson, even though everyone's afraid that apparently Sony Michel is going to take his job. And your quarterbacks, you waited on quarterbacks, and you still have Aaron Rodgers and Jalen Hurts. Like, you have 2 guys that could be top 10 quarterbacks right there.
With a safe floor and Derek Carr.
And then Derek Carr, who you can play when you absolutely have to and no other time.
He's on the clock.
Yeah,
he's on the clock.
Bob's on the clock.
Yeah, tell us what you're thinking, Bob. Tell us what you're thinking.
A little stacking is what I'm thinking. Don't have high hopes here. Obviously, I do like Alan Lazard. I took Randall Cobb. But, when the GM is making the call here, and by GM, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he has, look, I feel like Aaron Rodgers is going to do everything he can to stick it to everybody he can stick it to in Green Bay. And that means like Devontae Adams, huge year. To get him paid. Randall Cobb, the guy he brought over, huge year because he brought him over. I mean, it's just kind of a hope at this point. There's some other receivers that I have that are kind of down the line receivers. Again, just playing for anticipated roles. I don't know if I trust Alan Lazard. I loved what I saw at New Orleans last season. That game was phenomenal. Is that the real thing or not? He got hurt in that game. We didn't see it again. And I think there will be games where Marquez Valdes-Scantling makes the big play or 2 that kind of cuts into Lazard's role. So maybe the role belongs to Cobb, or maybe it belongs to Tunyon, who may actually get more than those 59 targets this year.
Well, I mean, Randall Cobb actually, when he was with Dallas, like he performed very, very well. Multiple different
Houston.
weeks where they had a wide receiver out. I'm talking about with Dallas prior to Houston.
Oh yeah.
He performed at a very high level, and I just don't think he got the opportunity to show that in Houston, where he could have actually, performed in a massive role. So I like the Randall Cobb pick. I think it's very solid overall and offers a lot of upside. So you got the floor with the upside.
I hate Randall Cobb. I loved Randall Cobb. I loved Randall Cobb in like 2014 redraft. Like he was my dude, but like he just can't stay on the field. I know injury prone isn't a thing. People yell at me if I say it, but some people seem more apt to getting injured. And unfortunately, in his elder state, that seems to be Randall-less Cobb's. I wouldn't mind trying to snag Amari Rodgers much later. Yeah, Amari Cooper too, but Amari Rodgers much later.
Fair point.
But yeah, if Tanyan's off the board, I'm assuming in this setup, I can't see because my eyes are awful. Eric Ebron just goes off the board there. Yeah. Oh, Hayden Hurst. That was a good one by Matt Schaff. Sorry, Bob. I'm just looking at the board here. I like Hayden Hurst right there as the tight end 23. Not bad at all. Yeah, I still like Bob's team now. I like Bob's team.
I don't like my team a lot. I like parts of my team a lot. We always talk about, when you're building the roster, taking risks. I would have loved my receiving core to start with Cortland Sutton and then maybe Juju Smith-Schuster and then maybe Kenny, but it wasn't going to happen. Clay would have taken Kenny Golladay. He was up in my business on the text when I took him. So, I think it's reasonable value there. Antonio Brown, I do love though, but also I might have taken Corey Davis ahead of, I would have liked to, I don't know. I feel like I'm missing out on guys a little bit here, but you do in this draft every single year. We do in every draft, like all these industry drafts. Everybody knows what the hell they're doing, right? Like your drafts at home, everybody.
Oh, Bob might have
there's
time.
No, you're not sneaking anybody out of anybody.
Yeah, no.
You're always going to look back on a draft. Like, there's never going to be a draft where you look at every position and you go, yeah, I absolutely am crushing everyone, unless you're playing with, like Chase likes to play with 8-year-olds.
I just did my last home league draft and it's amazing. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. But when you're playing with adults, generally, you're not going to walk out of the draft where every position you're just like, wow, I'm absolutely stacked everywhere.
Yeah, no, Cortland Sutton, though, you brought up Cortland Sutton, and he looked really good in this last preseason game. He was working in and out of his cuts. Like, he looked like, the same player that he was prior to the injury, maybe even better. And with Teddy Bridgewater there, it's a little bit concerning because Teddy Bridgewater doesn't really throw those jump balls like Drew Lock did. So what are your thoughts on Cortland Sutton? Because you did bring him up. Bob, like, how are you feeling about Cortland Sutton this upcoming year?
So I feel like we're kind of get caught up in these narratives. Like this is, Teddy Bridgewater is going to be great for Jerry Jeudy. He may well be, probably will be. Look, last season, Teddy Bridgewater was pretty damn good for 3 different wide receivers, right? All of them varying types. And Cortland Sutton would like you to know that he also is a good route runner and that he does more than just high point the ball, right? I think these are the things I talked to Ryan O'Halloran from the Denver Post recently, and he reminds me, says last year, right heading into the season, there were head and shoulders, Cortland Sutton's the best player on the field every day in practice, every day. And I believe that. And I believe in the talent there. And so, Teddy Bridgewater to me seems like, a move to set up for 2022 to get Aaron Rodgers or whoever Russell Wilson, whoever forces their way out of the situation they're currently in. Denver just wants to put themselves in that position. Also, though, I think they feel like San Francisco does. Their roster is built to win. Right. And if they can just get serviceable quarterback play, maybe they can go a little farther than they have in the past. And so if that's the case, if they're not winning, I think we'll see Drew Lock at some point just to see what they have. Right. Just to finally suss that whole thing out. But it'll take a while. But either way, I think either quarterback is going to be fine for Cortland Sutton. I think it's just, again, we start driving down Narrative Street and everyone, has this like, oh, this is going to work for him and not for him. No, it can work for everybody, people.
So, Bob, like, as we move forward, right, you're probably up in the draft. You're probably getting close, right? I think this draft board is a little bit delayed.
Yeah, I'm getting a little close.
Okay, cool.
I'm about 3 picks away. No, it's not that far behind.
Okay, cool. We'll discuss this in a second because I want to know what you think about your other high point specialist and Kenny Golladay, your other, big receiver essentially. But tell us what you're thinking as we move into this spot in the 15th round.
I'm thinking I probably need some more help at wide receiver, and I'm seeing players that I wanted who have just gone, and that's very upsetting.
Is that Paris Campbell?
Paris Campbell would have been one. I thought I saw AJ Green still available, and I think another underpriced commodity. Look, I don't know that I have high damn hopes for him, but I have high hopes for his role. So that's a little bit disturbing there as well. So I'm seeing some of the guys that with pretty solid roles that I'm getting a little concerned about. So again, I'm going to go after another wide receiver that I think is okay. Traequon Smith. I mean, look, he might have 3 good games. He's had that in the past. 3 exactly good games in his career. So
I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Shane,
I don't either.
Shane, who
I'm not gonna lie.
Who do you have between AJ Green, Paris Campbell, and Traequon Smith?
Oh, I cry in the bathroom.
We're at that point in the draft, though. I mean,
Paris Campbell, only because that one game he had last year, man, he looked good. Just extrapolate that over 17 games.
This is another player, Paris Campbell. When you talk to the people who cover the team closely on a daily basis, more than one, like Mike Chappell, George Bremer, I've talked to a number of these guys. Everyone just raves about him and what he looks like, and then they, finish that off by reminding us what lousy luck he has. Getting in car wrecks or whatever. I mean, just something comes up. So I do find him intriguing. I'm still a little more interested in the role at this point. Maybe he has a bigger role with T.Y. Hilton out, and that's the elephant in the draft board. There is T.Y. Hilton still sitting there, going take me, and I hey, only plays Houston twice a year.
They didn't put Hilton on the pup?
No, I think I did not see that. I think they think he's going to be okay fairly soon.
They said 1 to 3 weeks or something along those lines. But it's still
right. But for
remains
2 games,
it also makes things interesting for Zach Pascal as well. But we can revisit that another day because I know Shane really loves to talk about some of these deep wide receiver sleepers. So I'll say that.
I have Shane. One that's coming up that I'll go ahead and throw out there because I don't think any of these guys are watching. No offense to anybody, but I'll probably try and get
show on Twitter. Come on.
I know you are. It totally are, but I think these guys are drafting, so they aren't listening to other things. Except,
okay,
they're not as smart as Bob. Bob can multitask. What Bob's saying is the people in his league, they can't multitask.
They can't listen and draft. He can talk and draft. Woo, that's fire.
You can tell what I'm drafting on Sirius when I'm hosting a drafting because I just kind of stumble through reads and underdog. But yeah, so I one of my last picks is going to be Deshaun Jackson, and I know the chances of him staying healthy aren't good. But another guy, when you talk to everyone who's there with eyes on the ground, they're saying, "Man, this guy is hooking it up with Matt Stafford," and maybe it's only 4 or 5 games. This late in this draft, I'll take those 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Deshaun, I've done the same thing for the last, it feels like 4 seasons. Every time I get towards the end of a draft and I'm like, I need a wide receiver, I might as well draft Deshaun. His ceiling is 35 points. His floor is obviously, he's out with a broken rib and or torn cartilage in his toe while he also sprained his foot.
This one's for you, Shane. There you go. Tyler Kroft.
Tyler Kroft.
Let's go.
Over Dan Arnold, who I might still get at some point here.
All right, you have my vote. I think that you're taking home the championship belt this year. That's it. That's the lock. Tyler Kroft is the lock.
Tyler Kroft did it.
Tyler Kroft took it home.
I got to be honest with you. If Bob wins this league, it's going to be on the back of Jalen Hurts and getting him in the 7th round.
May well be. Right, the Rich Rebar Konami code quarterbacks are, always very useful, and especially in this league. And look, we didn't know until today he was actually the starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Football Eagles. So thank you for that, Nick Sirianni.
They actually made that announcement today.
Trevor Lawrence.
Nick Sirianni said, "Well, Jalen's the only one that's been practicing with the ones, so everyone should have just kind of known." But he did go way out of his way not to announce it until today for whatever reason.
Bob, do you have any championship trophies or belts or anything like that?
No, Fabiano has cornered the market on all those.
Oh yeah,
He's into the belts.
Was he one of the ones that had it for the the Champions Cup?
For the Kings Classic.
The Kings Classic. I'm sorry. Yeah.
In the Kings Classic, they delivered a bunch of belts. So last year was his first year. He won the regular snake draft, and kudos to him. But they handed him out for all the last 2 years. And so Matt Walsh is like, he's into that whole thing, right? The trophies and the belts and whatnot. So dude, I'm not in a lot of leagues that give out those things yet. So the leagues I'm in, you just win and then you say, "Yeah, I won," and you don't hang a belt over anything.
That's so boring, man. Even when you have cash, you don't have anything to show for it. Like
I want a trophy. I like cash fine. I could buy my own trophy if I want. Yeah, I buy my own trophy if I so choose.
No, come on, dude. Trophies are king, bro. Like trophy. That's why they call it the King's Classic, because trophies are king.
Where do you put them? It's like a Dundee, though. You know what I mean? Like it's cool and all, but like, do you put them out?
I would put it right here.
You would?
Right here.
Oh, you know why though? Because you've never been in a serious relationship with a woman, so that's why you think it's acceptable to do that.
And that's a trophy, and that's a trophy. I have 3 trophies behind me, and guess what? I would put another trophy there because we actually finally invested into a trophy for our home league, our main home league, and I'm super stoked to have it.
I just want to say, by the way, Matt Walsh, those guys at Trophy Smack do a fantastic job. The belts that they've made for all these leagues that I've seen are amazing. They did one for, I'm going to host the Allison Chains draft next week. They did one for that draft. It's phenomenal. I think they also made the new Vinnie Paul trophy for that league, which is quite the affair as well. So they do a great job. They sent me a grill, the champion grill thing.
No way.
They sent me one of those just to try out.
No, and that's actually, part of the stick, I guess, right? Because we actually have Trophy Smack as one of our sponsors today. So if you guys actually
fantastic,
go to
Matt.
Go to trophysmack.com, right? And if you enter in promo code CIRCLE, you actually get a free ring, championship ring, one of those thick ones, right? It looks like the Super Bowl ring, with your purchase of a trophy or a belt. Trophysmack.com, when you go to checkout, make sure the ring's in your cart. But you actually get that ring for free. $60. Like you just get a $60 ring for free. It's amazing. Trophysmack.com. Use promo code CIRCLE. Love those guys. Those belts are the real deal, man. We're getting one for our home league that we've been having for what, God? We're close to 12 years now. And I'm stoked. This is our first trophy we've ever had. Very excited.
Get the grill too.
Yeah, get a grill.
Get the grill. All right, so man, your draft is flying now. I thought you said it was going
Bob, why don't we have a Trophy Smack belt for the DFB? I feel like there should be.
I don't know. I'm feeling like Barrett is like slacking off on this whole thing. I haven't been caught up in group text notifications for quite some time, which I'm okay with actually, but
dude, those group chats that we have for all of our leagues that we're in, they just go crazy, man. Like I can't keep up with them all.
Oh, I have Dan Arnold. Every chat I'm in anywhere is on mute. Like every one of them. I just, you know what I mean? Like I periodically poke my head in and go, okay, let me see if I should respond in some way or let people know that I'm still here. But yeah, I definitely, everything's on mute.
Bob, did you hear that? He has our group chat on mute. Like he has our group chat with the 3 of us on mute right now.
Oh, I can't wait to delete that. Yeah.
Oh, he'll hop out and make it really awkward after this.
Yeah.
But anyways, Bob, where are you sitting at now? No, let's talk about Kenny Golladay, because I really wanted to get your take on Kenny Golladay. How are you feeling about Kenny Golladay moving forward? Why did you draft him as your second wide receiver? What are you feeling? Was he more of a value, or do you believe in him?
He's more of a value, but also I kind of believe in him. I believe in the talent, right? I don't know if I believe in the offense. Like I was if I wasn't the engineer, I was the conductor on the Daniel Jones hype train last year, much to my dismay. That didn't work out well for me, right?
That's not a good way to
look,
start.
I think he's really good. Who was it that tweeted last night, like Daniel Jones, or the other night during the game, Daniel Jones might be the best quarterback we never see, right? Because I mean, there's a lot of things that are not working in his favor, and so I like him. I like some things around him. I don't like the offensive line. I don't know that I like Jason Garrett, but look, at some point, it's worth gambling on talent. And I think in this case it is, I mean, Kenny Golladay is a very good player. Just, got to stay on the field. And I know Shane is like sitting there like, he gets hurt. Shane, the injury agnostic, Bob Harris here. I just don't care. Everyone gets hurt.
Oh man. Dude, Kenny Galladay's tough. Like, he's tough to buy into. And with Daniel Jones being there, that's tough quarterback throwing to him. Dude, Andrew Thomas has been a doormat. He's been a doormat so far this season. So, that's also concerning. I don't know if I can buy into Kenny Galladay, although I was buying into him last year before he got hurt. The year before that, I was excited to have him on my rosters. He's concerning for me. Shane, where do you stand?
I loved Galladay going into last year, and then last year was an absolute clusterfuck. I kind of hoped that he was just faking injury to get the hell out of Detroit. But now
that's what I'd like to think too. I think we all like to think that.
But now he's hurt again, which is a little concerning.
Well, no, he's not hurt. They're just resting him.
They're resting him now? It's not his calf.
Oh, it's a hamstring, but everyone has a tender hamstring at some point.
Look, if he gets on the field, look, he feels like a value right now. I mean, he does, because we are forgetting how good he was when he's actually on the field. When he's on the field, he's one of 12 guys that could be a wide receiver one. Well, there's probably more than that, but he's someone that could be a wide receiver one. And, I think that offense, you've talked about this too before, Chase. It kind of makes more sense now that they don't have 15 slot receivers. You know what I mean? Like they have Galladay, the big guy. They have Sterling Shepard to move back into, the slot role. And then I guess who's on the outside? Preston Williams. Not Preston Williams.
No, Slayton.
Darius Slayton, at least drawing some attention. So I think he could be really good. The only thing that could hold him back again is injury and Danny Jones. But if you're Danny Jones, well, why would you not target Kenny Galladay 150 times? So he could have a really big year.
The question wants to see Jason Garrett do that.
Can he accurately target Kenny Galladay, though, 150 times? That's the big concern.
His name is Danny Dimes for a reason, Chase.
Is that a real reason, or is that a reason that was made up by the fantasy community?
So far, it's kind of made up. Look, so I want to just defend him a little bit because I think he is not horrible. I just think he's had some really crappy circumstances, right? And also, I mean, look, he could be better, but you look at last year, I mean, he was carrying that team at times as both the thrower and the runner. And if you ask him to maybe run 80 yards, that's not good. But if you ask him to run 60, he's okay. Right? He gets to 80 and he just goes down.
That is obviously the turf monster.
That is the greatest Twitter video that's ever been put out, was when someone played that to the Fergie song, the stumbling song. That was the greatest thing that's ever existed in the history of mankind. He's going to have Saquon back, right? Saquon's going to be he's 100% because they didn't keep any running backs. They're like, whatever, we're fine with Devontae Booker. That you can't underestimate how much that helps a quarterback, having a player of that magnitude. He's legitimately one of the top 3 players in the NFL when he's healthy. Like, that's got to help that offense too, and that's got to help Danny Dimes as much as I want to despise him because he's a New Yorker.
Here goes Deshaun Watson in round 18, last round flyer on Deshaun Watson, who will never lay it down in the NFL.
Hey, but
that's what I wanted to do.
I was told he was going to get traded. It was a done deal, him getting traded to Miami or Philly, or maybe it was Denver. Oh, wait, now he might not play at all this year.
Carolina.
Oops.
You meant Carolina.
One. Yeah.
So, if I was sitting here and you made me say he was going to a team this year, clearly Stephen Ross wants him there. That's what we're hearing today. But man, David Tepper has said, I'm not settling. Nothing, 8-8. I didn't pay $1 billion to be 8-8. And you look at his entire career, right? How he got his money. I mean, he's a risk taker. I don't think Sam Darnold is his idea of going for it, right? So we'll see. I can't imagine anyone actually trading for Deshaun Watson without some clarity on this, unless it's super cheap. And it just sounds like it's not going to be super cheap. And I just don't think we're going to see it this year. Anyway, we'll see it next year, but not this year.
I do love the Texans' balls on this, though. They're like, look, this guy's already said he doesn't want to be here. He's also under investigation for multiple acts of sexual battery and whatnot. But we ain't taking less than 5 firsts for this guy. So I love it. I love it. The Texans are just like, what the fuck ever. You give us what we want or we will take nothing. You know what I mean?
Well, they don't have anything anyway. So it's like, what are we going to be left with? Like, oh, wait, another first? That's not going to change the future for us. We're going to be bad for the next 3 or 4 years.
$144 million sitting on your books. But yeah. But no, I love it.
Well, that's the thing, though. that's the thing, though. I mean, if they keep him on the roster and pay him and say, I mean, that's all he wants. All Deshaun Watson wants is to get to next year when he starts making the real money, right? It's $10 million this year. It's like $1 billion next year, or some ridiculous
he
amount.
doesn't mind holding out.
Yeah. Right. This is fine for him. This is ideal.
Well, let's stick with the Texans real quick because you took Philip Lindsay over David Johnson, which I can understand it. I mean, to an extent, I'm more on David Johnson's side because I want to see him in a third down back role. Meanwhile, Philip Lindsay, who struggled to stay healthy over the past 2 years or so, or at least the past year, and was also wildly inefficient. Ends up with the Texans team that doesn't have a good offensive line. Are you on Team Philip? Well, obviously you're on Team Philip Lindsay, but tell us why.
Free score player. I mean, it's a free score for a player who could well end up being the best back in Houston. I know it's a low bar, right? I mean, Mark Ingram's there primarily because he knows the coach and he can show his teammates how this coach operates and help him set the tone. I think Ingram will be a factor early in the season. And I'm looking forward to David Johnson playing Duke Johnson. He'll be fantastic at that. But it'll, I don't expect the results to be much better. And I think at the end of the season, if Philip Lindsay's the best back on this roster or the most productive back on this roster, it wouldn't be incredibly surprising to me. In fact, I'm kind of expecting that. So again, always interested in buying the cheap portion of a backfield. In this case, he was not the cheap portion, but he was cheap enough because what I get him around 17 in this for draft. I've been investing in him as in like a regular redraft league as a running back 4, just in hopes of that. And if it's not working out and I don't see it happening by some point when I need something to happen, I'll just move on and find somebody else. Ty Johnson will be waiting for me.
Shane, how you feeling about Philip Lindsay versus David Johnson?
So I've hated Philip Lindsay most of his career, but compared to David Johnson, yeah, I'm going to take that all day. David Johnson is only going to have, they've pretty much told him, and he's come out and said that they're only going to have him basically be a receiver, a third down back, change of pace back, which great. If he's going to get 115 targets, awesome. But I got a feeling it's going to be closer to 40 targets, 50 targets. And he's not a guy that's going to really give you much production off of 50 targets and 100 rushing attempts. I feel like Lindsay's the better back. He's younger. I just feel like Lindsay's going to be the one that eventually gets most of the work there. I think Mark Ingram there is a player coach. I think the argument is that, you're looking, if people are taking both of those guys ahead of Lindsay, I feel really great about it. It's kind of changed in recent drafts where Lindsay's kind of climbing up a little bit. I blame me because I've been talking him up every chance I get. But that's the thing. I mean, it's just, this is you're spending the capital you're expending is not like merit that you have to have a success. And every year, this may well be another year. Every year there's a running back who nobody drafted who wins you the title. Figuring out who that guy is in about week 3 is how you win at this, right? Figuring out who the next, Justin Forsett, Ruben Droons, whoever, Orlando, every year there has been a player since I've been doing this that comes out of nowhere. I can remember when it was Arian Foster, when nobody knew what the hell an Arian Foster was. Well, for a while, it was like every Texans running back, Dominic Davis. But that's kind of the, that's kind of the game, right? Is figuring out who's going to be that back. And we're trying to draft that back right now. And, thinking Lindsay might be it. I mean, look, I don't expect the Texans to be good, but we saw what they did the last preseason game. It was pretty run heavy. If your best hope is keeping your defense off the field, I'm all in on that. And so I didn't see where Tyrell Williams went. He's another one of those guys that I'm just like crazy investing in because he's like next to nothing. He's a free square play for a guy who every beat writer in Detroit that I've talked to this year has said like he's the wide receiver 1. Now we know that a little more certainty with Rashad Perriman gone, but also he has the history with Anthony Lynn, and he was pretty productive in Los Angeles when he was healthy. Not in the lead role, and he was pretty productive for the Raiders in a lead role while he was healthy. So I think he's more than capable, and he's one of the free score players I've been drafting like crazy too. He actually had a top 24 season in San Diego. They were still in San Diego at that time, and he had the lead role there by default. I forget who else was there. A couple guys. It was probably Keenan Allen and someone else that got injured. And that's like the last time he was actually fully healthy. Who's his target competition?
He went around 17.
Around 17
in this draft. That's crazy in this draft.
Yeah.
Wait, was that him?
Oh no, that's someone else. That was Tyson Williams.
Yeah,
Tyson.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
so
he went 13. He went around 13. Okay, and I think that's. I mean, in this league where you got to start a lot of wide receivers, I think, always in drafts, and I think you guys probably do the same thing. You're looking for those wide receiver ones on kind of crappy teams that no one's paying attention to, the Corey Davises, the Henry Ruggs, the anticipated wide receiver ones that Brandon Cooks even, is going a little later than probably he should because he's on a crappy offense. And I think everyone needs to remember, even the worst offenses produce some offense. And if you're getting the wide receiver one there and you got that clear path to targets, I think that's worth drafting at the right price.
All right. So there's a couple players here that I really liked. And so I want to talk about the best value picks, and we're going to close out the show on this.
Okay.
I was sitting there, I was looking at Rondale Moore, and I was like, okay, this is a great pick. I think he's going to break the rookie receiving, touch record at least. I really like him there. And then I see the player ahead of him, right above him, was actually DJ Chark, all the way in the 10th round.
Yeah.
And DJ Chark, I know that he struggles to stay healthy and stuff, but in the first 5 weeks of 2019, when he was having his breakout, before they figured out Gardner Minshew, I mean, he was on pace to put up record numbers, insane numbers, and they figured out Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew ended up struggling the rest of the season. I think that DJ Chark is getting completely undervalued, especially, since he had the injury that kept him out of the preseason. And Chenault's gotten all this attention. Marvin Jones gotten all this attention. But the wide receiver one over there is DJ Chark, in my opinion, at least for fantasy purposes. Maybe not for actual, team purposes, but for fantasy purposes, I think the wide receiver one is DJ Chark. That's my biggest win out of anybody on this entire list. Do you guys disagree? Do you guys agree? Do you guys have somebody else that you would like to bring up?
Where did Marvin Jones go? Jones went ahead of him. He was the last Jacksonville receiver off the board.
He was the last one. Marvin Jones went at wide receiver 47 at the beginning of the 10th round.
Yeah, so I like the cheapest one of those guys. I like whichever one of them is cheapest. And for most of this time, heading up till only recently, I mean, it had been Marvin Jones. And I think in best ball, he's my most rostered player. I mean, by far, probably him and Corey Davis are guys that I can't get shed of, and Phillip Lindsay, just drafting guys late that I hope are past the workload. But that's the thing. I think any of those guys, I mean, if we think we know right now who the wide receiver one there is, I don't think we do. And the argument, I can tell, what do we do in this game? We tell ourselves happy stories. We convince ourselves of things that could possibly be true. We take the Matt Harmon range of possible outcomes and we talk ourselves into the best end of that range. And I can do that with Marvin Jones. I could do that with Chark. I could do that with Laviska Shenault if I had to, although for me, that one's a little harder. But maybe with ETN gone, it's a little easier to tell myself that happy story. But, for Jones, it's 9 touchdowns a year each of the last 2 seasons. He's familiar with the offense. Has worked with the coordinator Darrell Bevell in the past. And for Chark, it's, I love him. I think he's a great player. He just, ask Urban Meyer. He played kind of small for a big guy last year.
Very true. Shane?
I'm still in love with the Hayden Hurst pick. In a two tight end league where you got to start 2 tight ends and you get Hayden Hurst in round 14. It's a guy that had 8 top 10 finishes last year. I know he was wildly inconsistent because the other weeks weren't great. But in the 14th round to get a tight end there is pretty much in the same situation he was last year. You just plug Kyle Pitts into the Julio Jones role, right?
Right.
And I know it's blasphemy. He might be better than Julio Jones now. It would, considering the age discrepancy, health, and things like that. Not Julio Jones at his prime, who's probably one of the best wide receivers to ever play the game. But I love Hayden Hurst. I love that pick. It's weird. I hate Hayden Hurst. He's a guy that I was completely off of, but things happen. You look at it and you go, well, he put up 8 top 10 weeks last year. I think he could at least do that again this year. I don't see why he wouldn't be able to. That that's a concentrated target share. It's Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts, and Hayden Hurst, and I guess Russell Gage, right? They don't have any running backs to throw to. Mike Davis.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike Davis caught a lot of passes last year.
He did, and he was super inefficient with them, and he didn't do a goddamn thing with them. He got them, and then he fell down a lot.
I love the crossing routes and the utilization of Kyle Pitts this upcoming season. But yeah, Hayden Hurst, I mean, he finishes what is still a top 10 tight end, I believe. Last season, I think it was tight end 9. I like Hayden Hurst.
Points per game, he was tight end 15, which, when you look at it, you're like, well, that kind of sucks. But again, he had top 10 weeks. He had 8 of them. So that's fine with me. I mean, he's going to have inconsistent weeks, but that's every tight end. That's not one of the big, I'll say 6 or 7 now.
All right, Bob, do you have a favorite pick for this entire draft?
I'm trying to look up and come up with something like super smart and intelligent and like way better than what you guys said, and I can't. So in the draft and while we were talking, I was, you're kind of getting caught up, but I mean, I think Marquez Callaway, is a pretty decent pick there at 10 in the 10th round, just ahead of Chark. It looks like. I think that's a decent pick for wide receiver 1 for half the year at least. And who knows, Michael Thomas has got a little flaky. And so I think some of the wide receiver ones too, that were like, I don't know what Henry Ruggs is going to be, but I like the workload. I know what Darnell Mooney can be. So man, there's a lot of guys I like here in that range of the draft. Ronald Jones in round 13 seems like for the guy that Bruce Arians wants to be the lead back there, and if you talk to everyone who covers the Buccaneers, they will tell you the same thing. I think that's I'm not saying we should believe everything Bruce Arians says, because a lot of the things he says doesn't come true, right? I mean, I remember Andre Ellington was, okay, so sure, but
I hate that so much.
Dude, Andre Ellington definitely has a skill set to be a running back 1. 3-down skill set, really good at receiving.
Right. So, but Ronald Jones is the guy that when they get the opportunity, they use him like a feature back, right? Or at least the early down back. Look, now that Tom Brady has signed Giovanni Bernard, I think all bets are off there, and probably Bernard being the chief component is the piece I want of this offense. But I think that's pretty good value for a 2-down, at least the early down back. And who did I talk to? Just like this weekend, it was Scott Reynolds from Pewter Report. He's back in the mind that Leonard Fournette was almost gone before he turned into playoff and then Lombardi Lenny, right? I mean, he was had COVID issues, wasn't doing good, wasn't active, and it was just a Ronald Jones injury or two that got him into the mix, and he delivered when he needed to. So I still think Ronald Jones is the kind of the leading the tip of that rushing spear. Of course, again, it's every down is a passing down in Tampa Bay. So my Antonio Brown pick appeals to me as well.
Yeah, Antonio Brown's a good one. Somebody that definitely succeeded as we made our way throughout the later half of the season. It's something that I definitely want to keep an eye on moving forward, especially after punching somebody in practice.
That's practice, man. Look, if that wasn't Antonio Brown, no one would have given a shit. And look, he's done a bunch of things that are really, really crazy. But dude, fights happen at practice. You know what I mean? Like I never looked at it as a bad thing. Now, if you punch someone in the back of the head, that's something. But I kind of like when guys are a little feisty at practice. At least they care.
I punched Chase in the back of the head at the Expo. It was great. He didn't even know it was me. He just like, who did that?
You knocked me out, and then I ended up in your hotel room. Okay, I don't want to talk about that. But anyways, I appreciate you for coming on, Bob. It's a pleasure as always. You want to let everybody know where to find you if they don't know already?
Find me at footballdiehards.com, on Twitter at footballdiehard. You can hear me on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio way more than you want. It's hard to avoid me, so beware.
Oh, God. Shane, what's up, man?
Oh, hey.
Yeah,
what's going on?
This is your time. This is your moment.
Dynasty Trades HQ once a week. I'm on this show once a week. Manic and Chill every week, except that it's more likely bi-weekly. Writing over at DLF for Dynasty, and I just dropped my first article for Fantasy Data today for Redraft. So go read that, because that shit is good, because I'm an excellent writer. I don't know what else to say.
It turns out you are. He sent me an article after the Expo, and I went, oh, God dang, I might have to use this guy. Damn it. I thought he was a total smartass that I just enjoyed hanging out with. No,
he knows his shit sometimes. Sometimes he knows.
No,
Crazy.
all the time. I mean, you read my work. I'm better than most of the writers that I read. It's just I can only write about shit that I care about. Is my problem. Like I don't have that. I wish I had that gene that was like I will write about everything that crosses the plate. And more power to the people that can do that because that's a skill. But you got to care about stuff, Chase.
Dude,
Where
I
can we
care about
find you?
everything. Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
I don't know if you're ready. All right, you guys can go check out all of our content over there at fantasyintervention.com. Once again, that's fantasyintervention.com. We actually just rolled out an auction sheet from Ben Nestor, and it helps you track your auction drafts. So if you guys still have auction drafts coming up, make sure you guys go check that out. Once again, it's by Ben Nestor. You guys can find him at NessieFFB over there on Twitter. The guy's up and coming. He's going to be a real big stud, like in this fantasy community eventually. The guy's smart as shit. He knows what he's talking about. We've had a lot of great people at Fantasy Intervention. This is another one who's up and coming and has tremendous value moving forward. That's at NessieFFB. You guys can also go find our stuff at @joinourcircle_ on Twitter. Once again, that's at @joinourcircle_ on Twitter. You guys can go find all of my content at FF_intervention on Twitter. You guys can go check out our Facebook group, Fantasy Football Discussion, where it is soaring. We're now about to cross 27,000 active members in that group. I mean, it's literally just blowing up. Fantasy Football Discussion. If you guys are on Facebook, go check that out. And of course, youtube.com/fantasyintervention. We have a bunch of big announcements coming up, which I'm ready to make by next week. I cannot wait for these announcements to come out. But we appreciate you guys. Make sure you go check out Trophy Smack. Enter promo code CIRCLE at the end after you add a trophy or a belt along with the ring in there, and you'll get the $60 ring for free. Go check out TrophySmack.com. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Bob, for joining us. And thank you all for letting us interview with your fantasy anytime. Football life. We're out.